with sackcloth. And in every province, whithersoever the king's commandment and his decree came, there was great mourning among the Jews, and fasting, and weeping, and wailing, and many lay in sackcloth and ashes. So here, obviously, the Jewish people heard about the news that Haman wanted to basically commit genocide. And obviously, if you're part of the Jewish people, you'd be pretty sad, because knowing that your life could be numbered, your days could be numbered, and that you'd be killed pretty much anytime soon. But then Mordecai, as you see, he's pretty sad, and somehow Esther finds out. Esther's maids tell her what's going on, and then you skip down to verse number 13. It says, Then Mordecai commanded to answer Esther, Think not with thyself that thou shalt escape in the king's house more than all the Jews. So he's saying, look, just because you're queen, it doesn't mean you're exempt from all this. And it says, For if thou altogether holdest thy peace at this time, then shall their enlargement and deliverance arise to the Jews from another place. But thou and thy father's house shall be destroyed. And who knoweth whether thou art come to the kingdom for such a time as this? Then Esther bade them return Mordecai this answer, Go, gather all the Jews that are present in Shushan, and fast ye for me, and neither eat nor drink 3 days, night or day. I also and my maidens will fast likewise. And so will I go unto the king, which is not according to the law, and if I perish, I perish. So Mordecai went his way, and did according to all that Esther had commanded him. So here, the queen wasn't supposed to just walk up to the king and just ask for anything. Basically, she had to get favor from the king before she could go up to him and ask for a favor. I'll go down to chapter number 5, starting in what happens in the first part of chapter 5 is that Esther prepares a banquet for the king, Ahasuerus, and Haman, just the two of them, and here's the queen, basically serving them. And after the banquet, in verse 7, there's what Esther says. Then answered Esther and said, My petition and my request is, if I have found favor in the sight of the king, and if it please the king to grant my petition and to perform my request, let the king prepare for them, and I will do tomorrow as the king hath said. Then went Haman forth that day joyful and with a glad heart. But when Haman saw Mordecai in the king's gate, that he stood not up nor moved for him, he was full of indignation against Mordecai. See here, remember in the beginning, he was lifted up with pride because, he's like, all right, I'm the second in command. I'm the main man now, basically. And here he was happy because it was only him and the king. And it's almost like a private little party. But then, even though he was so happy, just the sight of Mordecai not bowing down to him or not even moving for him, his wrath is rekindled, and he gets so angry. And in verse number 10, it says, Nevertheless, Haman refrained himself, and when he came home, he sent and called for his friends and Zeresh, his wife. And here he begins to boast in verse 11. And Haman told him of the glory of his riches. He's like, all right, here, look, I'm rich, I'm like the man now, I got all these things. And the multitude of his children, so he's got a lot of kids. And all the things wherein the king had promoted him, and how he had advanced him above the princes and servants of the king. Haman said, moreover, Yea, Esther the queen did let no man come in with the king, excuse me, with the king unto the banquet that she had prepared but myself. And tomorrow am I invited unto her also with the king. So all right, look at this. I got a lot of kids. I got a lot of good things. And tomorrow I'm going to be invited to this private party again. So look at me, I'm the man. It's like nobody can touch me now. He's pretty full up with pride. But as we looked in Proverbs 16, pride always goes before a fall. Pride goeth before destruction. And we'll continue on and we'll see what happens to him. And verse number 13. Yet all this availeth me nothing. So like, all right, all this means nothing to me. Why? Because it says, so long as I see Mordecai the Jew sitting at the king's gate. Then said Zeresh, his wife, and all his friends unto him, let a gallows be made of 50 cubits high, and tomorrow speak thou unto the king, that Mordecai may be hanged thereon. Then go thou in merrily with the king unto the banquet. And the thing pleased Haman, and he caused gallows to be made. So here he is. He prepares the gallows for Mordecai. He's thinking, all right, I'm going to tell the king, just kill Mordecai. Hang him 50 cubits high, and just so everybody can see, and he's going to be made a spectacle. But then chapter number 6, something happens to the king where he can't sleep. It says, on that night could not the king sleep. And he commanded to bring the book of records of the chronicles, and they were read before the king. And it was found written that Mordecai had told of Bigthana and Teresh, to the king's chamberlains and keepers of the door, who sought to lay hand on the king Ahasuerus. So you go, oh yeah, I forgot about that. He goes, and the king said, what honor and dignity have been done to Mordecai for this? Then said the king's servants that ministered unto him, there's nothing done for him. It's like, all right, remember that guy that saved my life? What did we ever do to him? Did we honor him? Did we give him a little party at least? And the servants go, well, nothing's been done. So the king goes, and the king said in verse number 4, and the king said, who is in the court? Now Haman was come into the outward court of the king's house to speak unto the king, to hang Mordecai on the gallows that he had prepared for him. So, all right, here's Haman going to the king. He's about to tell him, like, look, I made some gallows. Let's hang this dude Mordecai. But then the king goes, and the king's servant said unto him, behold, Haman standeth in the court. And the king said, let him come in. So Haman came in, and the king said unto him, what shall be done unto the man whom the king delighteth to honor? Now Haman thought in his heart, to whom would the king delight to honor, to do honor more than to myself? So he's thinking, all right, I think it's going to be me. You know, he's going to honor me, and he's not thinking of anybody else that the king would honor but himself. So he's pretty excited. And the king asked him, what should we do to this guy that I want to honor? And this guy is so excited that he describes to the king what he wants. And what he wants is this. In verse number 8, he begins of the things that he wants. He goes, let the royal apparel be brought, which the king useth to wear, and the horse that the king rideth upon, and a crown royal which is set upon his head. So he's pretty ambitious here, like, I want to wear what the king wears. I want to put the crown that he puts on his head. Not only that, but he wants to ride the king's horse. And he goes, and let this apparel and horse be delivered to the hand of one of the king's most noble princes, that they may array the man withal, whom the king delighteth to honor, and bring him on horseback through the street of the city, and proclaim before him, thus shall it be done to the man whom the king delighteth to honor. So he's thinking about himself here. It's like, man, this is going to be so awesome. It's going to be me, but I'm not even going to mention my name, but he's going to say, this is me right here. Then the king said to Haman, make haste, and take the apparel and the horse, as thou hast said, and do even so to Mordecai. Can you imagine his jaw just dropped, like, what? Mordecai, that's the dude I'm trying to kill. That's the dude that I prepared a gallows for. And you want to honor him? Can you imagine just the hatred he has more towards Mordecai? Not only that, but maybe even the fear or the embarrassment, because he has to do something that, because he hates the guy so much that he can't even look at him straight. He goes, then took Haman the apparel and the horse and arrayed Mordecai. So this is pretty embarrassing here. It's like, man, I'm trying to kill this guy, but now I got to dress him up in the king's clothing, and I got to put him on a horse that the king rides. He goes, and brought him on horseback through the street of the city. Not only that, and proclaimed before him, thus shall it be done unto the man whom the king delighteth to honor. So he's like, basically, he's like his little boy, maybe he drags the horse, and then he yells to all the crowd that, hey, this is the guy that the king wants to honor.